Nailed it.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
All I see is a green screen.
It's good.
This
though.
is all green screen.
all
Remember
of it.
back
I'm
in
a
the
green
day-
screen.
Yeah, you're AI.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, remember back in the day when the channel was still little and everybody was like, nice green screen, Bear, and it was just me walking around my filthy homestead? Yeah. Like if I had a green screen, I'd have like Jurassic Park dinosaurs and stuff in the back. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Check out my Leviathan.
Yeah, you guys think you're prepper, but you don't have your own prepper Leviathan? Yeah, catch up, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The Leviathan. Ugh.
That's fantastic.
Remember when all those gun tubers were Leviathans?
Yeah.
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 It was like a third-party advertising secret that nobody talks about on the internet. Because they can't, because they all signed NDAs. But I didn't, because I don't want to be friends with those guys. So they all work for the same company, which is why they all push the same products at the same time, which is why influencer marketing is dead, because nobody believes them anymore, nor should they. Hi, I'm Bear from the internet. Is that screen supposed to be green?
No, yeah, it's supposed to be green.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to see me on there.
no.
All right, let me use my own existential crisis rectangle so I can see how ridiculous we look at the moment. Oh, very.
Yes.
So you may have noticed we have some headgear on this morning, and the reason for that is because the world is so insane that we didn't know whether or not we needed helmets today. So let's see. In no particular order, it's 12MAY25. We got a U.S.-China trade deal, maybe. Trump is getting a plane ? From Qatar. We might have a Middle East peace deal because Trump could be recognizing a Palestinian state, which is super interesting because last week he's like, we're going to go in there, clean it out. It's ours now. United States is in charge. There's a whole bunch of cocaine on a train in Europe. You guys see that?
Oh.
No.
I'm now qualified to be a world leader, turns out.
Wow.
You guys aren't tracking on this?
No, dude.
Oh,
Not at all.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
So we'll come to this.
Okay.
There's a new pope. We have
That's interesting.
Yeah. Call no man father but your father in heaven. Not
Chicago.
that I don't have love for all my Catholic brothers and sisters out there, but the Bible is the word of God. The Bible. What is this stuck to my finger? It's probably a booger. You want it?
Yeah.
It's a booger. It's not gold.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks.
Perfect. We got tariff and supply chain disruptions. Newark Airport has had 2 ground stops in the last week because their flight control software keeps going down.
Really?
Probably hacks.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this is super important. One of y'all said on a live stream last week that you had a Mackie mixing board that you intimated you wanted to give to us. I'd love to have it. So please email admin@bearindependent.com. Thank you so much. I've been trying to buy one.
Mackie makes great stuff, man.
Yeah, great stuff. I've been trying to buy one for a month.
Yeah.
Twice I've tried to buy it because they've had it at a great smoking deal.
Yeah.
And twice I've gotten refunded and didn't get the Mackie mixing board.
Why?
And I'm like, I've already expressed interest in trading you money for this board. I don't want the money back.
This is how capitalism
I want
works.
the board. Yeah. Maybe it's tariffs. I don't know. So I've got a quick written brief, and then I want to jump into all this ridiculousness that we as Americans are facing in 2025.
Yes.
With an estimated 4 to 6 weeks before the predicted consequences of tariff-related supply chain disruptions fully blossomed across store shelves, there's another overlooked prediction for this summer: record high beef prices. By the way, a little insider baseball, friend of a friend works at a hospital. They reached out last week and said, hey, we have 7 weeks worth of supplies on hand. The warehouse is empty and we have no idea when we're getting restocked. Now, a bunch of y'all have been, different helmet.
Yeah.
I have been saying for about a year, hey, it's getting weird out there
Yeah.
concerning supply chain, because we at Refuge have our finger on the pulse of all these different medical device supply chains. And I'm like, it looks a little weird. And so and then we've had lots of people that have written in on Fridays. By the way, if you have your own intel to share, intel@bearindependent.com. Lots of people have written in and have said, hey, I work at a hospital, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm an anesthesiologist. We can't get stuff. It's really weird. And so I'm just reiterating to you, I'm not saying that this is the end of the world as we know it, but I am saying that from a medical standpoint, the supply chain is and has been compromised. I mean, Baxter got hit by Hurricane Helene.
Right.
Remember when we were in Eastern Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Western North Carolina doing Hurricane Helene stuff? What do you got? Come here. Did you write your short story? That's a paragraph. That's too short of a story. You gotta write a story. That's two
Come
sentences.
on. It's a whole page.
Okay. Yeah, I said fill the page. Fill the page. Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time allotted to it. But Baxter got hit by that freak hurricane in Appalachia.
Yeah.
You know, next rad radar. Don't Google that.
Yeah.
And so Baxter hasn't been making any fluids for a hot minute, to the point where they've done an extension on all their bags of fluids right now, because they all ship with expiration dates on them.
Yep.
So they issued like literally a worldwide memo saying, just kidding about those expiration dates. You can push that out another year. Well, that's an indicator. I'm gonna take my existing bags and push them out another year.
Right.
What does that tell me? It's gonna be another year before Baxter has anything online. We've had like med spas and stuff like that reaching out to us. They're like, yo, bro, you got any of that lactated ringers? You got any banana bags that you could sell us?
But what does that also say? You know, oh, they're all of a sudden pushing out expiration dates. Right. So, I mean, what does that say about the expiration date in and of itself?
That's something I've always said, right? Like, if the world ends and I've got this 0.9 bag of sodium,
Right.
right, and it's past its expiration date, this is not medical advice. I don't play a doctor on YouTube. I'm looking at it to see if there's any floaties in it. No floaties, we're good to go.
Yeah, no floaties and clear.
Yep. Has
Yep.
it been kept in a cool, dry place?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. If it's got floaties in it, nah, we're not using this. It is past its expiration date. But it's super interesting that Baxter's like, yo, bro, we got nothing. We're gonna have nothing for a year. Number one producer of fluids on planet Earth.
Right.
So in addition to all of that, record high beef prices. Wait, aren't beef prices already at record highs? While beef prices have indeed already reached historic highs, market indicators suggest we're only seeing the beginning of what could become an unprecedented surge in meat costs this summer. Ground beef cost $5.79 per pound in March, a record high, while sirloin steaks prices averaged $11.92 per pound, just shy of November's $12 per pound. These prices have remained steadily high since the pandemic began, but multiple indicators suggest that they're about to climb even higher.
Yeah, I was reading something on that the cattle industry has less cows in it right now than we've had since 1950s.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Since so many people are doing it, how do we have less?
Well, so one of the things that there's these large generational shifts in American behavior, right?
Yeah.
During World War II, everybody was encouraged to have a Liberty Garden. Like everybody.
Right.
Do your part. Plant a garden in the backyard, right? And they did. But prior to that, 80-20 split, right? It's called the Pareto principle. Prior to that, 80% of the population lived in the countryside, 20% in the cities. It's now the other way around.
Yep.
80% live in the cities, 20% live in the countryside. 90% of the world's population lives within 50 miles of a coastline.
Right.
Of the entire world, right? So only 10% of the people across the globe, or flat pizza-shaped disc object, whatever you're into, 90% of the people are within 50 miles of the coast. The other 10% are inland. So we have fewer people that are living in the areas that produce resources, and far more people living in the areas that consume resources.
Right.
And I'm no fan of ConAgra and Monsanto and John Deere. But there's an argument to be made that we had to start mechanizing the food production industry,
right?
Because we didn't have the people to go out there and do it, right? So now we have GPS tractors and blah blah blah. I think Monsanto is the devil, if not his pinky finger. Like, not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan. But there's an argument to be made for large-scale monocropping in order to feed the people. Now, those large-scale monocrops are good, like, they're water balloons. There's no nutrients in them, right? Versus what you grow in your backyard with your own soil that you're sticking your fingers into. So the soil mycorrhizas causing your brain to produce serotonin, and you're getting sunshine on you, and you're breathing fresh air, and like you have a vested interest in this plant. Have you seen those studies? Like, if you talk nice to your plants, they produce better?
Yes.
It's real.
It's super true. Super true.
Didn't they do that on Mythbusters?
Oh, I feel like they did.
I don't think I've ever seen a single episode of Mythbusters.
Of Mythbusters?
You're missing out, dude.
Really?
It's a treat.
Yeah.
They do some ridiculous stuff, man.
Do they
Like
really?
me and you would do in the backyard for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good
Cool.
show.
Yeah.
Pretty good show.
Samurai swords and pumpkins, it's great.
I'm about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, but anyway, all that to say, like, how do we as Americans, and dare I say, like, real Americans, nobody has ever walked in here with like purple hair and a lisp, you know, or if they have, they haven't stayed very long.
Such a funny way to put it.
But how do we as real Americans combat this, push back against this? And I've been saying this for 7 years on camera. It's personal responsibility.
Yeah.
If you produce food where you live, first of all, if you're worried about climate change and carbon dioxide, the shortest supply chain is from your front yard to your kitchen, right? Like, it's all localized right here.
Right.
It's all right here. But then secondly, I don't have to worry about beef prices when I have my own cows. Astronaut life. When being an astronaut, you have to work together. Also, very often you have to eat freeze-dried food. That's true. You sleep in little holes in the walls, floors, and ceiling. You would usually stay in space for about 1 month. NASA has launched millions of people into space. I don't think it's millions of people, and I think they've launched them into low Earth orbit, but that's just details. Yeah, you want to be an astronaut when you grow up? Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good picture, by the way.
I think you're smart enough to do it.
Yep. Don't be like Katy Perry on the Blue Origin thing, though, okay? Yeah, don't worry about it. You're probably going to have to join the Air Force if you want to be an astronaut. Hey, I have a question for you. Elon Musk is trying to get people to live on Mars. Would you want to live on Mars? No? It's a good answer. Okay, beat feet. Go do the rest of your homework. So anyway, beef prices are up. Have you noticed that at all?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, first point, like there's a detriment to society in the sense that a lot of people think that meat is made in the grocery store, which is a problem. You know, we spoke a little bit earlier about the idea of, you know, your hands getting dirty, having blood on your hands, something needlessly has to die to sustain your life. That's an element. It's just a legitimate truth to life. You know, whether it's you go out and you shoot a deer to put meat in the freezer, you go fishing, whatever the case may be, you butcher a cow, butcher a sheep, the list goes on, right? Blood is shed for the sustainment of life. And let's not even get into the other side of that conversation.
I mean, yeah, the spiritual aspects of that.
Right.
That's why the Levitical system was imperfect compared to the atonement of Christ.
Yeah.
But it was a substitutionary sacrificial system where you're looking upon the needless death of another and recognizing that could have been me.
Right.
Right.
But with that said, you know, I recall, you know, in the not too distant past, you know, farmers literally just culling as many cows as they possibly could, just for sustainment.
Yep.
You know, so the cost of feed was too high. There were droughts. There was all kinds of nonsense going on in the world.
Yep.
Within the are we allowed to say COVID now? I don't even know.
Yeah, we're gonna say COVID.
Cool. So that time, right? There was a lot of that. So I mean, the natural rise in price, it's really just only logical, but it should have never been.
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah. I mean, it gets into where we're at with the tariff stuff. So I don't know if you want to get into that yet.
Yeah, we're going there.
Yeah. So I'll let you go until we get to that, and I'll loop back to it.
I think the point here is being independent of the broken, fragile system.
Right.
It's what this channel is about. Okay, beef prices are up. Allegedly, for people who buy it at grocery stores, it is up. We just had 2-3 weeks ago, our brother Cracker turned Torah. I gave him, because I didn't want to deal with him anymore, a bunch of our cows. And our deal was, hey, let's just go halves. I paid for them. I got them to this point. You're going to take them, put them on your grass. We'll just go halves. And I kind of forgot about it. And he calls me up and he's like, hey, your half a cow is at the butcher. I'm like, awesome. And so it was $180 in butcher fees. Wow. No, it's it was $180 in butcher fees for half a cow.
Wow.
And so we had to we got to put half a cow of grass-fed beef in our freezer for $180.
Yeah, buddy.
Right? And so it's like, which ribeye do I want to eat today? Which is a great problem to have. And that was just a byproduct of living an agricultural life intentionally with people that I love and trust.
Yeah.
Right? And so if sirloin's $12 a pound, and I'm not saying that it's not, I had no idea of that. You know, I'm unaffected by that is my point. Right. And every one of us has the ability to produce food where we are at. I hear from people all the time, they're like, I get it, Bear, you live in the countryside. I live in insert city here. So all three of us have spent time in North Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All three of us, right? And in North Texas, you have 1 inch of topsoil and then crap soil and rock underneath it. As you got 1 inch. And me and my wife, in our spare time, while broke in our backyard, produced 40% of the food that we ate. And that's by dollar value, because at the time it was $300 every time we went to the grocery store, and then it dipped down to 180. So 120 of that 300, or 40%, we were producing in our backyard.
Yeah.
Right? Half an hour a day, a couple hours on the weekends, just to give it a good once over, right? And that's another thing that people don't understand about money is energy. It's a physical manifestation of energy. I can spend more money over here, or I can spend a little bit of energy and time over here. And the food that came out of our North Texas, 1/3 of an acre residential backyard was infinitely better than I could have gotten anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I walked into Whole Foods, they were going to have tomatoes and peppers like I had, you know?
Yep.
So my point is, you can do this too. You should be doing this too, because it's not if, but when. All right. The packers are slaughtering cattle immediately after delivery, while future contracts continue to make new highs in both live and feeder markets, with funds still piling in to buy live cattle futures. So now there's people investing in beef prices going up. The CFTC Commitment of Traders report shows managed money traders long 128,000 contracts as of last Tuesday, up nearly 8,400. Yes, Weasel. Orange thingies. Okay. Part of her summer school with Dad was find 10 orange things in the office. A first aid kit, a ladder, a tote, a mallet. I'm very familiar with that mallet. Cartwheels, sign and corner. We have a wobbly monster?
Yeah, they're on the sewing machines.
Oh, that's right. There are wobbly monsters on the sewing machines.
Other sign and quarter.
Other sign and corner. Sign is SIGN. Dustpan and rag. Good job. All right, go do push-ups. So anyway, people are investing in futures. What's driving price increases? A perfect storm of supply constraints and steady demand has pushed the cattle market to new heights. U.S. cattle inventory has plummeted to its lowest point since 1951. That's an issue. You think we got more or less people now since 1951?
Way more.
Way more. Primarily due to years of drought conditions, high grain prices, and rising operating costs that forced many cattle producers to reduce their herds or exit the business entirely. That's what Heath was talking about. I've brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again. 87 times throughout the Bible, we see three things. We see famine, plague, and warfare. They all go hand in hand.
Yep.
And the famine is always preceded by a drought. And so it starts with a lack of rain. And the provision of rain is always due to the righteousness of people in covenant relationship with the Most High. And when they turn their back on the Most High, the rain stops. And I mean, even Elijah, a man much like us, we were just reading this at Bible study this past weekend, right? James quoting Elijah and the whole nine. Elijah prayed, and it didn't rain for 3.5 years. And you might think, especially if you're not agricultural, well, who cares? What's the big deal? Right? I live in Austin or Miami or whatever. No rain, no crops. No crops, your flocks die off, and you don't produce vegetable and grain agriculture out of the ground.
Yeah.
No grain, now we have famine. Famine leads to malnutrition, which increases the incidence of plague. And then because there's reduced resources, war is politics by another means. War is always tied to resources. And so because there's fewer resources and civilian populations are weakened, war breaks out and people all start killing each other simply because of a lack of rain. Good thing that we're totally not trying to geoengineer rainfall on this planet.
I was just going to say, hashtag cloud seeding.
Where was that? Was that in Qatar that they had, or was it Saudi Arabia? It hadn't rained, they put their planes up, they did a little cloud seeding, and it rained so hard that they got like once in a millennia floods that were like wiping away entire villages and people.
Shouldn't be messing with it.
100%, dude, just leave it alone.
We did it wrong.
Let's see.
The mix was way too strong.
With mass deportation of the immigrant labor force, agriculture in particular is in for a rough time. John Walt Boatwright, the American Farm Bureau's Federation Director of Government Affairs, I love it when they have a 14-syllable title, emphasizes, that's how you know how somebody's important.
Oh, yeah.
If it takes the entire business card to fit their title on it, like, it's actually not. I see that and I'm like, look at this middle manager over here, right?
Oh, no.
Emphasizes that while tariffs concern farmers, labor is at the top of the list of worries. Approximately 2/3 of workers in California's agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting industries are immigrants. Recent deportation initiatives and policies like classifying over 6,000 living immigrants as dead by canceling their social security numbers are creating severe workforce disruptions. 42% of agricultural laborers have no work authorization, according to the USDA. Farms are caught between economics of timely crop harvesting and adhering to worker programs to avoid immigration raids. Yes, sweetheart.
I do a picture.
Okay, that's of me?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty accurate.
That's fantastic.
It
Really
just
good.
Looks like Monday.
Yeah, that's what I look like
I
on
like
my
how
day.
she shaded the upper lip, you know.
The nose hair is really what's
Yeah,
doing it for
that's
me.
it.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, I got to do my show, okay? Go do something. Try to hang out with my friends. Some guy, John Walt Boatwright from the American Farm Bureau, blah, 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 emphasizes that while tariffs concern farmers, labor's at the top of the list. We've lost 140,000 farms in the last 5 years. That's something that jumped out to me,
That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
bro. And that goes back to, are you producing food where you live?
Right.
And if you live in a place where you just can't produce food, why? And I get it. There's a hamster wheel. We've all spent time on the hamster wheel. We've all played in the major metropolitan areas running on the hamster wheel. What you realize is you're spending your time and energy to run on somebody else's hamster wheel. They give you a little tiny piece of cheese while they keep the rest of the block of cheese. and it's just enough cheese to continue to entice you to run on the hamster wheel, but you now have to eat their food, which makes you sick, so you have to participate in their medical system, and you get your drive-through box lunch Christianity at church maybe on Sunday, but you don't really feel filled up, and your kids are going to schools that are run by the government, being indoctrinated by them, and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses too, and your margins are really, really, really tight, and you never get ahead. And if you do get ahead, they'll take 50% or more of what you earned during your life when you die with a death tax to take from your children's inheritance, who probably, because you raised them in the wrong place and didn't have enough time to spend with them, aren't deserving of an inheritance anyway. And the cycle repeats. And this is how we get sick people who are just overcome with generational curses. Or you hop off the hamster wheel and you go over here, and maybe you take a little bit of a haircut in income, or maybe you're making the exact same amount where you are, but now I got a piece of land. And in my free time, in the evenings and the weekends, I can walk outside and I can plant some carrots and tomatoes and whatever, and I can eat that. I can have a little flock of chickens. There's no HOA to tell me that I can't have a rooster, right? If there was an HOA, there wouldn't be one for very long, right? You could push in a range on the backside of your property, and you know, all of a sudden you're like, you thought you were American.
Yep.
You're like, you think you're an American, till you get out into the countryside and you're like, you can just do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'll add some sheep. Okay. Who's going to tell me
freedom.
no? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think I'm going to go to the range and shoot. Who's going to tell me no?
Yep.
I think we'll build a building over here. Who's going to tell me no? And it like, that's how it's supposed to be. And then you start, I think you get radicalized to like what actual conservatism looks like, to conserve basic principles, core foundational principles, not these conservatives that we have in Washington, because what are they actually conserving? This Congress still can't get their poop in a group to preserve the life of unborn children, and they call themselves conservatives. What are you conserving? Their stock portfolios mostly, but I digress. You get out into the country and you're like, I'm a fully actualized American man now. This is incredible. Yep. And if you're a believer, all of a sudden parables start making sense.
Right.
Because it turns out that like Jesus walked around in the countryside with his homies and only went to the city when he had to. Yeah. Right? And yeah, it's just like a whole thing. You're like, look, fresh air, real food, nobody to tell me what to do. I guess I am in charge. What do you got, Dud?
In the comment section, Karen Knighton said, Baxter, North Cove, all lines are up and running 24/7. I work there.
Awesome. Well, you're behind, Karen. Pick it up. All right. The interconnected nature of the food supply means these workforce disruptions ripple through the entire system. Cattle producers are facing higher labor costs and therefore must charge more, while slaughterhouses and processing facilities operated at a reduced capacity. Last week's cattle kill was only 559,000 head. Think about that in a week.
Yeah.
Think about that in a week. 560,000 cattle killed last week.
Shalom, Whoopi. What's up, brother?
What's up, Whoopi? Down 10% compared to last year. This further constricts the supply pipeline. As one industry analyst put it, strong consumer demand combined with tighter supplies could send prices to new heights. Whether this means a short-term spike or a long-term realignment of meat prices remains to be seen, but for now, the cattle market shows no signs of cooling off.
Yeah.
Do they make like a cattle-backed crypto that we can invest in? Does that exist?
Oh man,
Beef coin?
Beef
like,
coin, yes.
so no,
I love it.
but there's like picking a ledger that you can build something on, and the tokenization of assets is starting to become a thing. As a matter of fact, the SEC is going to have a roundtable around, and the chairman of the SEC is supposed to be talking about, or the main keynote is the subject of tokenization with assets.
Interesting.
But with that said, what you could do is you could actually pick a blockchain or a prominent ledger, take the XRPL, Ethereum, any layer one, and go underneath that and create a sub layer and create your own coin and utilize the assets of those coins to say beef up the cattle industry.
So
or
beef coin could be a thing.
it could be
Ram coin.
like that's a real legitimate possibility.
I'm in on beef coin.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Me too.
All right. So cocaine.
Love Eric Clapton.
Me too.
So turns out I am eminently qualified to be a world leader. Not anymore. I was once very qualified to be a world leader. Emmanuel Macron's, that's the president of France, white bag video on train as cocaine claims go viral. So Macron, president of France, was meeting with the UK's Prime Minister Kier Starmer. He's the guy, we had a little conversation about him. Was that Friday morning? This past Friday? He looks like a gay reptile. Don't spit out your water. He totally looks like a gay reptile.
I'm just thinking about what kind of reptile that is. A gecko? I don't know.
As well as Germany's Prime Minister Friedrich Merz were on their way to Ukraine over the weekend, and the media was invited into their train car. And I think they knew the media was coming in, but they didn't know when. This is my opinion. So there's two different camera angles. As the media comes into their train car, the three of them are sitting around, clearly geeked out of their mind. And on the table is a baggie of white powder and a spoon. And so the media comes in, and real quickly, one of them pockets the spoon, the other one slides the white bag off the table, pockets it, and they're like, oh, hey, everybody. Bro. But they're going to Ukraine, which is where Zelensky's at. That dude is totally a cokehead.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever watched that guy on the news, he's constantly sniffing and wiping his nose and like geeked out, looking around like. And here's the thing. When you're on coke, you are convinced all of your ideas are the best ideas ever and you can take over the world, but you're also convinced you've got it under control and nobody knows. Like you're covering it up really well. But if you've ever seen yourself or anybody else on cocaine, it's blatantly obvious that that person is on cocaine. And Zelensky's been a cokehead from way back, the conjecture, allegedly. And now we've got these three dudes going to meet Zelensky. Actually, I'm sorry. I think they had just got done meeting with Zelensky. They're on a train, and they've got I've heard other people say it was a napkin. I've never seen anybody be that nervous about hiding a napkin before. And what was up with the spoon?
Right.
So that's fun.
Yeah, that's the spoon's not a good sign. I'm just saying. And if you know, you know. So
I was gonna, maybe you want to elaborate or maybe don't on what the spoon is used for. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Intravenous.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able to talk.
Yeah.
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 They definitely wouldn't be able to respond to people coming in the room. They'd still be breathing crazy.
Yeah. The thing, if I think about this long enough, the thing that pisses me off about this is these are all the people that are taking our taxpayer dollars so that our sons and daughters and their sons and daughters can go half a world away and fight and die for some amorphous cause such as freedom.
Right.
And they're all geeked out of their brains on a train. And they're all geeked out of their brains all the time, right? Like consistently. And this is the same media that told us that like Joe Biden was good to go, right? Like he's spry and chipper. He's still all the way there. Yeah, he's got the mind of somebody half his age, on dope half his age, you know. And so it's interesting to me. On one hand, it's like, haha, funny, world leaders are doing coke on a train. On the other hand, these are the people that want all of us dead.
Yeah.
These are the people that are producing the food, air quote medicine, spraying the things in the sky, controlling the weather. These are the same people that wanted to round us up and put us in internment camps during COVID because we would not comply. And they're just riding around in Europe on train cars blowing lines.
I was super distracted while you were talking about all that. I was trying to look up how to say cocaine in French, but I think it's pretty much the same thing across the board.
They probably got some slang.
Yeah.
Yeah, powder or something.
Yeah.
How does one say to go skiing in French? See you on the slopes. So anyway, white baggie filled with coke on a train. There's a bunch of people that have come out and said, no, it's not that. It wasn't that. Well, their behavior when the cameramen walk in is very telling. If it's a napkin, who cares? It's
right.
But I'll tell you this, kind of a subject matter expert on coke.
Probably just stevia.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Probably they had a little in their tea or something,
Now, here's the other thing. On the flip side, there's a bunch of people who are like, dude, they're doing coke. That was a lot of coke. That was like Tuesday night before bedtime amount of coke.
Like an 8-ball or quarter ounce?
Yeah, like maybe an 8-ball. I mean, yeah. For 3 people on a train ride, this is even the best stuff that I'm aware of. It's not a ton of coke.
Yeah.
It's not a ton of coke.
Short train ride, probably.
Probably, yeah. Just enough to take the edge off and figure out how to continue to take over the world. So, both sides of the coin here. If it was cocaine, it wasn't a ton of cocaine. But that doesn't mean that our elected officials should be doing coke.
Right.
And there's a bunch of people saying, well, we should require our elected officials to take drug tests in order to serve.
What about their kids?
Yeah, Hunter Biden. Remember that?
Right.
Remember that? Nobody knows where this baggie of coke came from in the White House.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, it was about the time that Zelensky visited. Zelensky, president of Ukraine. Hunter Biden, Burisma, energy company consultant in Ukraine. Interesting. If we make everybody take piss tests, remember Dominion voting machines?
Yeah.
Remember that controversy?
Yeah.
Can't trust the vote, but we can trust the drug lab that's going to process the president's drug tests? Nah. No, man. Because again, the machine, like if I'm the coked up president and Heath is the drug testing lab, I'm going to go to Heath and I'm going to be like, hey man, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get a clean bill of health, clean report, or else. And if I get a clean bill of health, it's going to go really well for you. There's a contract coming up I'd like you to place a bid on. It's going to go well for you. If I don't get a clean bill of health, they're going to find you in the river. Now pick. Right?
It's either that or you're not going to pee in the cup. You're going to have your man from the Secret Service do it for
100%. How many times does that happen in the construction industry?
Right.
Right?
Every week.
Yeah. That's another thing we don't talk about. But in the construction industry, that happens all the time. It's like, hey, man, I need you to piss for me. What? It's like, well, yeah, I had a crazy weekend and I need some pee. That's normal in the construction industry. So if that's happening for the guys that are building roads and bridges, it would all the way be happening for presidents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what would be fun. So men and women have different levels of hormones in their urine.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. Let's get all of them to pee in cups. I bet you Bridget Macron's wife, is actually a dude. Michelle Obama's a dude.
All the way.
Right? Like, go on, pee. First of all, if they have to squat to pee in the cup, like we know something's up. You know what I mean? But then, yeah, let's just run the hormone test and see who's got what. So, or if the ladies don't have to squat to pee in the cup, something's up. They walk to the urinal.
She just walking around with a
yeah.
shiwi in her pocket. Like, what's going on?
Skills.
So there's Coke on a train, or was Coke on a train. We're going to continue to pay attention to that. Dudley, you want to send us to a break?
You got it.
Hi, buddy.
I don't feel good.
You don't look good either, but that's not new. Do you have another gas station hot dog for breakfast?
Yeah.
Did you, and a taquito? Did you eat all, drink all 6 of those Monsters?
Just 5.
Yeah, 3rd can of dip today?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put you in the recovery position so that you don't puke and aspirate on your own vomit and then die, because I don't want to do the paperwork, okay?
Okay.
All right, awesome. So, I'm going to roll you over. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll over. Stop that. Straighten this leg out, your lower leg. There we go.
Okay.
Leave that one like that. And I want this arm here, okay? And when you puke up that $4 worth of gas station breakfast you ate, you can just do it over here on the ground, okay?
Okay.
And if you pass out, that's fine. Help is on the way.
Okay.
But this way, all that junk that you got in there can come away from your nose and your mouth so that you don't aspirate, asphyxiate, and die.
Okay.
Okay?
That tracks.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Also, stop eating that garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I fired you already. So, Lamppost said, I passed a truck yesterday that had 5 cases of Monster visible in the back and probably more underneath. That's too
My
much
dude.
Monster. That guy is fixing to get some stuff done.
In the white can?
Yep. Were they Amish? Is that how the Amish are building so many houses?
It's gotta be. It's the only logical conclusion. Never mind, many hands make light work.
They're all hopped up on Monster. That's amazing. So Refuge has a BOGO going on right now. Buy one, get one 30% off. It's a very rare promotional opportunity through Refuge. So make sure you're going to refugemedical.com to check that out. We also have myriad training dates come up. Myriad training dates coming up. One of which is Train the Trainer. There's a couple of slots left for that, and that's this Sunday, Monday.
You need to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Whoever you are out there, do the thing on the computer and the stuff and buy the class.
Yep.
Because you need to be there, and it's a wonderful opportunity.
And training is a direction that we're leaning even further into.
100%.
We are ECSI. We are an ECSI, Emergency Care and Survival Institute approved training center. And Mike is an approved ECSI instructor. I'm working on my ECSI approval as well. And then it's been really cool. We've had a couple of considerable organizations reach out to us in the last 6 weeks or so. They're like, hey, can you put together a training protocol specifically for our industry, for our people? Like, absolutely. And so that's been really cool to pick and pull modules from ECSI based upon what their specific threats are in that industry and custom build a curriculum for them.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. So we also have Kentucky Sustainable Living. We will be there. I will be speaking, and there is a class, a refuge class at Kentucky Sustainable Living. It's like more than half off because we love Jason. And right now, that's the only class on the road that we've got this year. So it's at KentuckySustainableLiving.com. Go check that out.
Half off, though?
More than half off.
That's
like
huge.
60% off.
Wow.
Yeah. Jason really wanted it to be affordable for the people that were coming.
For sure.
So
he's got a heart of gold, though.
dude, he's an amazing brother. Working with him and Helene was super cool. And I knew he was cool before that, but then getting that dwell time with him,
Sure.
yeah, awesome. So we have a new pope. Thoughts?
Chicago.
Well, I mean, I've seen reports that he's supposed to be some financial savvy individual, which,
Yep.
follow the money.
Yep.
Like, I just think, you take a look at the Vatican and the church as a whole and all the things that, one could read into that. It's just a money-making machine. So what are they doing there? It's not that he's, got the capacity or had a great success as a flock leader, right? As a pastor, which some are toting, yeah, that's the case. He's got this background as a successful pastor.
Right.
I just think there's more than meets the eye here that people just really aren't latching on to. I really think he's a savvy money manager, and the Catholic Church needs that here in this moment.
When's the last time we had an American Pope?
Never.
Ever. It's not happened.
So it's just weird anyhow, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
So is this like, yay, America? Like, did we win on this one?
No, I mean, if you're a Catholic, yes.
Well, I don't.
Not for me at all.
I don't think
like,
even a little bit, because I mean, people are, the mainstream media is taking ample opportunity in the sense of talking about how he's going to go against Trump and he is going to have the opportunity and ability to combat the idea of make America great again. It's no longer America first. Trump doesn't like that.
Arguably, the first 100 days hasn't been very America first anyway.
Yes, you're 100% right.
Although apparently now Netanyahu and Trump are not friends anymore.
Right.
That's the rumor. So Bibi is saying really nasty things about Trump. Trump's saying nasty things about Bibi, which I'm in full support of.
Sure.
Just so we're all on the same page here. And before I get called an it's crazy. I'll get comments on the same piece of content that I am both a Jew and an anti-Semite from two different. I'm like, that's okay, cool. You clearly haven't been here very long. I am a pastor. I confess that Yeshua is HaMashiach, that Jesus is the Christ. Yep. We read the entire Bible and do what the entire Bible says to the best of our ability. Simple as that. I'm a whole Bible believer, but Messiah first. Because of Messiah, I'm a whole Bible believer.
Right.
And the Jews are technically correct when they say they're God's chosen people, and the church is technically correct when they say they're God's chosen people, but neither is exclusive of the other because of Ephesians 2 and Romans 11. This whole grafted in concept and the law of first mention. Israel's a people group, it's not a piece of land, which I've enumerated myriad times on camera. And so we are God's chosen people. We're not God's only chosen people. And so I have much respect for elder brother Judah, but that is separate from the nation state of Israel, much like, we just had 4 years under the Biden regime. And then, prior to that, we had 4 years under Trump. Prior to that, we had 8 years under Obama. Obama never represented me. So the nation state of the United States of America was no reflection of who I am as an American.
Yep.
Right. And so understand that when I talk about Middle Eastern New Jersey, what I'm talking about is the leadership of the nation state of Israel, not necessarily the Yehudim and their mode of worship, which even then, based upon biblical principles, has been a bad witness for how we as the chosen people of the Most High are supposed to conduct ourselves for the last 3,500 years, going all the way back to Genesis 39, Judah and Tamar. And so that's a lot to unpack for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of context and dwell time with me to understand what I'm saying when I refer to these things. So I'm not a Jew. I'm also not anti-Semitic because I'm grafted into Shem. Okay? Like, I'm part of Shem's family. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Japheth, and Ham.
Yep.
Right? Shem is where we get Semite from. The 12, 13, if you count them, tribes of Israel. And so read Ephesians chapter 2, by our belief in Messiah, Romans 11, that's what we're grafted into. So all that to say, I shed no tears when the nation state of Israel gets a little bit of a haircut on my taxpayer dollars, because the idea that they are our greatest ally, I think, is false.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And so Bibi is now talking about that Israel will stand with or without the support of the United States of America. I also am not for innocent people dying on any side of a conflict. I think what happened on October the 7th, 2023 was bad.
Yep.
I remember that was the great 8th day. We were at Sukkot. It's the 8th day of Sukkot.
Right.
And I happened to be on the existential crisis rectangle, and I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good at all. I think everything that has happened to the innocent people in Gaza, again, separating from the Palestinian Authority, which is in no way innocent and is a terrorist group, but the innocent men, women, and children who are being indiscriminately bombed by the nation state of Israel, I'm not in support of that either. And are you in favor of a two-state solution? I'm not in favor of any solution. How's that? Because any solution, biblically, when we have peace in the Middle East, that's, I think, the Antichrist. Those people have been trying to kill each other for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's a strong indicator to me if and when we've got peace in the Middle East, that gives me a certain understanding of where we are on the timeline.
Right.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I really hone in on whenever I'm seeing the word peace, and it's being thrown around a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
And, naturally, Revelation guy. When they say peace, peace, surely destruction will come.
Yep.
Key indicator, right? So without diving too far into that, I totally agree. I'm leery of it, for sure. The only thing that will really truly bring peace on a grand scale is Yeshua returning.
Yep.
But it won't be peace in the way that the world wants it.
100%.
Yep.
That's what people miss is a lot of churches don't study the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
Because the eschatology, the end times biblical understanding, that's what eschatology means, doesn't mesh with what they call the dispensation, the idea that that was nailed to the cross and done away with, dispensationalism. And so those two things don't really jive if you just read Revelation word for word, because there's a lot of things that don't match up with the doctrines and dogmas of most mainstream modern Christianity. And so because of that, a lot of believers are unaware of what Revelation looks like, what the book actually says.
Yeah, dude.
And so if you go to Revelation 19, which I would recommend you do, it's easy to remember if you're a 45 caliber guy, 1911. Revelation 19:11, which makes sense. All the boomers are out there like, my 1911 won 2 world wars. Well, you should see what 1911 is, because it's Messiah returning, and he does bring peace. But the way that he brings peace, you hear around Christmas time every year, peace on earth and goodwill towards men. Bro, peace on earth is accomplished through warfare. There's nobody left to start any trouble.
That's right.
And that is a very different Messiah in his second coming than what has been preached and taught in his first coming. And we need the atonement. We need the love. We need the redemption of the first coming in order to see us through to the second.
Exactly.
But when he returns the second time, there is blood up to the bridles of the horses for 1,500 stadia.
And, think about, Palm Sunday, whenever he entered in through the gates on a donkey.
Yep.
From a historical perspective, if a king were coming into a kingdom on a donkey, he's coming in peace.
Yep.
But if he's coming on a horse, he's coming to make war.
Yep.
The exact same picture being provided. Yes, peace and goodwill towards men. He came that first time, but when he's coming back, he's coming back with a vengeance to execute war on those who are against him.
Should have been David.
100%. 100%. So, so with that, the Middle East.
Yeah.
Trump is on a. Make no mistake, Trump's not Messiah. Okay, just we're on the same.
Not even kind of.
Not even kind of. But Trump is on a Middle Eastern tour, or about to be, where he's going to be meeting with the Saudis, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. And what they're saying, the commentators are saying, is that he is in large part trying to get the Saudis to recognize the Palestinian state. And if they do that, then that becomes external pressure, regional pressure for Israel to stop, the nation state of Israel to stop their actions in Gaza. Because right now it's literally warpath. And I also understand where the nation state of Israel is coming from. If you came across my fence and killed a bunch of my people, I'm not stopping till all of your people are dead. I have that muscle too. I get it. If somebody did that to us, it's war. You did it, it's war. But here's the thing. This has been going on for 3,500 years, maybe even 4,000 years with these two separate people groups.
Right.
They have been at war. One is of the loins of Ham, one is of the loins of Shem, and they don't get along. They're never going to get along until, right? But at least as far as establishing some modicum of peace in the region, Trump is making this tour with the Saudis, the UAE, and Qatar. And the idea there is not just to secure a backstop for Middle Eastern peace, it's also for investment in the United States. So he's trying to get the Saudis to invest $1 trillion in the U.S., which is interesting to me because my brain goes to have you ever seen like pics or footage of Saudi Arabia and the UAE? They have like 17-year-old Arab kids in like full Arab getup in Bugattis just driving around because there's so much money there from oil that like they've run out of ways to flex on each other.
And they wreck them and just leave them on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like when they run out of gas, they just like, oh well.
They're disposable.
Yeah, and
right?
they go drifting down the road until they crash, and it's like, oh, I'll just get another one.
So literally 70 years ago, it was a desert populated by camels, and that's not racist or xenophobic. That's a historical fact. And now 70 years later, they wreck a Bugatti and just leave it on the side of the road because they can get another one.
Yeah.
And that has all been predicated on the trade of oil. And back to your comment about America First, dude, we have 300 years worth of oil based upon exponential consumption going forward underneath our soil right now. So I was told, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
Right? And I know it takes time to ramp things up. I get it. Trust the plan. Give it time. I get it. But, man, I would love to not be dependent upon the Saudis or anybody else for energy.
Yeah.
Like, we have the capability here. Like, let's say me and Jody live next door to one another, right? And he's got a solar array, but I don't. I'm like, hey, is it cool if I run an extension cord over to your place? And he's like, yeah, buddy, no problem. Okay. After a month or two, he's like, I need to get another charge controller. It's going to be $100. I want you to pay 50 of it. And I'm like, well, that's reasonable. I'm using some of your power. And so I pay 50 of that. And the next month it's, hey, it's a ground system and ground mount system. And I noticed I'm the only one cleaning the panels. I need you to come over here and clean some of the panels too. Okay, that's reasonable. And then I'm over there cleaning the panels one day, and I'm like, my favorite color is blue. And he's like, I'm red or die, baby. And I'm like, no, it's blue. And we get into a fight over something stupid. And he goes, cool, watch this, and unplugs my extension cord. Now what? I'm fully dependent upon you. And I'm like, maybe red is my new favorite color. You know what? I'll be over here every day cleaning the panels. Sounds good. And you're like, roger that. And you reconnect me. Because instead of building my own infrastructure, investing in my own self-reliance, I'm dependent upon you. To a much larger extent, that's what's happening to everybody else in what's called American society, is we have all these extension cords that are run into our house that we feel like we won't be able to live without them if they disconnect me. Up to and including the American electrical grid. Like if you don't have a grid goes down plan, you're playing at prepping. As the guy who built it, I'm telling you, it's going away. It's going away. And its number one threat is rust. It's not the Chinese hackers. It's not Russian sabotage attacks. Right. It's rust. There's more of it than we have the ability to just keep up with and maintain. And we need another 300 to 400% more grid than we have right now in the next 10 years just for these quantum computers, GPUs. By the way, NVIDIA stock. Have you been tracking NVIDIA at all?
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like, again, I'm not an investment professional, but I feel like NVIDIA, who is currently the only major company that's producing these GPUs for these quantum computers, NVIDIA would probably be somebody worth investing
in. Been, so NVIDIA in investors' sphere of influence has been a topic at least for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it only keeps getting hotter.
Yeah, well, supply, basic economics, supply and demand.
Yeah.
If the supply remains the same, but the demand goes up, price goes up, right? So anyway, all that to say, Trump is making a regional tour. While he's there, Qatar, which is a little tiny nation state over there, if you remember back to Trump's first presidency, he was like, he was on Air Force One, he's like, these planes, they're terrible, very old, falling out of the sky. Like, he went on a whole diatribe about Air Force One. He then issued a contract to Boeing to get 2 new Air Force One planes. Whichever plane the president is on is Air Force One.
Yeah.
If he hops on an Alaskan puddle jumper, that's Air Force One, right? But 2 new planes to serve the executive branch through the Department of Defense, Air Force. We need 2 new Air Force Ones. And so they issued a contract to Boeing, which is intriguing because Boeing stuff keeps falling out of the sky these days. A contract to Boeing for $3.9 billion for 2 planes. Last term, so 5 years or so ago. And Boeing, typical government contractor, has had cost overruns. So from $3.9 billion to $7 billion for 2 planes. And they said, we're hoping to have them ready by 2035. So Trump is like, bad deal, it's gay, we're not doing it. And so Qatar has stepped up and said, we'll give you one of our planes. We have this executive suite plane that we're not using. We'll give you this $400 million value plane. Which is interesting because number one, Trojan horse.
Right.
Right.
That's immediately what I'm thinking.
Like, if we didn't really trust each other and you gave me a plane or a truck or anything like that, I'm taking it completely apart down to the frame.
100%.
Right? And then we'll put it back together again. Because could be explosives in it, but more importantly, there could be intentional mechanical failures in it. But more importantly, there's probably collecting devices on it.
Oh, yeah.
Gathering the data of every person with their existential crisis rectangle that gets on there. Listening devices, passing all that signals intelligence back to Qatar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? And not to be that guy, but the nation state of Israel and Qatar have used each other as cutouts in the past for nefarious stuff. And so, 'twas I Trump and I just pissed off Bibi Netanyahu. Now all of a sudden Qatar's like, you can have one of our planes. I ain't getting on that plane.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
No.
It could fall out of the sky. To say nothing of the fact that Boeing made it and their stuff keeps falling out of the sky anyway. So,
yep.
Thoughts on that?
Oh, man. $400 million airplane. All valid points for what you mentioned. What was that dollar amount to Boeing for the contract?
Originally 3.9 billion, up to 7 billion. Yeah.
Why?
And they're not coming out until 2035.
Yeah.
It's going to be outdated by the time it's released. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What is the money for?
Hell if I know. I mean, it's government spending.
They
probably don't know.
If an aircraft of this magnitude, say it's valued at 750 million.
Mm-hmm.
Why 7 billion
Yeah.
for two?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that.
I don't know what the technological suite looks like in that plane because its capabilities are highly protected.
Oh yeah.
Right. But like previous Air Force Ones have had, magnetic shielding for EMP, all that.
Right.
Increased engines, increased fuel capacity. The idea from a COG-COP standpoint, continuity of government, continuity of operations, I forget which air wing it was, but there is an air wing that their entire job, they've got KC-135 Stratotankers, is to keep Air Force One airborne.
Yep.
So that it can stay airborne indefinitely during a war. And so, because the idea is it's harder to hit the president in the air than it is to hit him on the ground.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got all the communication suites, all the data, being able to move large packets of data quickly. So that's like a literal bandwidth issue. Defensive, all the flares and the chaff and blah, blah. So who knows?
Sure.
Maybe instead of 400 million, it is a $4 billion plane. Okay. Why is it going to take, another 10 years to get it?
They build cruise ships faster than that.
Yeah, man. 100%. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But so Qatar is saying, hey, you can have one of our planes. My response to that would be, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
So kind of to circle back, what's the skin in the game with making the deal over there? Besides the plane, besides the the trillions or whatever they're trying to put in, what's the skin in the game? Because we know it goes against the nation state of Israel, right? It's like rubbing them all the way wrong, right? Because they don't want us playing ball with those guys at all, right?
Yep.
I heard a little bit it was trying to get a foothold on some of the terrorist stuff too, and that was the play, right? Is that they were going to have, gosh, it slipped my mind. What's ISIS and then this other one, the
ISIS, ISIS-K, Taliban, Hamas.
There were some backdoor Hamas. If they were going to cut out Hamas, then they were going to make them a state.
Yep.
And it was this little nugget that I heard on one of the newsreels.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, interesting. So that's the play to make it sound good, right? When it's really about this over here,
Well, just about everything within the government is sleight of hand. Hey, look over here while we do this over there. I mean, it happens in the financial sector. It happened with COVID. It happened with, just about everything across the board.
So India and Pakistan is now quiet. They allegedly have a peace deal. Trump went over there and was like, hey, knock it off. No more killing. And so that's over. But we still have, I think it is still 6 B-2 Spirit bombers at Diego Garcia. And then 4 KC-135 tankers. And then 4, gosh, I can't remember their designation. 4 other long-range bombers there as well. At Diego Garcia, like what are we fixing in that? And they're saying it's all the Houthis, right?
Right.
That we spent $1 billion already fighting these dudes, the Houthis, that are kind of like the equivalent of like us if we had missiles.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, for real. They're just like normal dudes, they've had a little bit of training and now they have rockets, right?
Crap.
And it's like, that's a lot of freaking firepower. I think more so the buildup of Diego Garcia is to intimidate Iran. That's
sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, but again, okay, so we're gonna go bomb Iran. Well, then bomb it. Like,
Yeah.
they could get nuclear weapons any day now. I've been hearing that my entire life.
Oh yeah.
My
for
entire
sure.
life, I've been hearing Iran is 2 weeks away from nuclear weapons.
It's been 24
Then
years.
bomb them. Like, if it's really existential, go bomb the facilities. So, I don't know.
But so think about it like, say we provide the benefit of the doubt, right? You think about, Donald Trump, his book, The Art of the Deal, and he is a master businessman, kind of going back to the airplanes, the $400 million
Yep.
Boeing over here versus the $7 billion contract with Boeing. Hey, why would I buy this if I can get this for free? Manipulating corporate, if you will. You know what I mean? Maybe there's something like that going on.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got all kinds of things like this all happening simultaneously.
So, carrot and the stick.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I also wonder, so if I was Trump, I'm not, but if I was Trump, and I'm about to go to Saudi, UAE, Qatar, right? And this is his first trip abroad in this presidency. Yeah, B-52s. Thank you, chat. We are smarter than me, 100%. I would love to know, hey, I've got 10 gigantic, badass, nuclear-capable planes over there. FAFO, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and so talk about carrot and the stick.
Yeah.
It's like, you could give me $1 trillion or glow in the dark. You pick. Like.
When they moved him, we knew it was strategic. And,
Yeah.
For what?
Right.
Whatever. It's there now.
So it's basically extortion.
Yep.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's be friends.
Well, that's politics.
Or I'm going to beat you up. Yeah, 100%. That's politics.
It's my bike. We'll just keep it at my house. Yeah.
I guess lastly, have you guys heard at Newark Air Force, or not Air Force, airport?
Jeez,
it's like
please.
one of the largest airports on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Twice in the last week, they've had to do full ground stops because the computers in the control towers, air traffic control towers, have just went blank.
Crashed.
And it wasn't like forever. It was like 90 to 120 seconds.
Long enough.
Long
That's
enough.
Plenty of time.
Right? And so there's, conjecture, opinion, analysis. There's a lot of people that are like, dude, air traffic controllers themselves are saying, we're getting hacked.
Yeah.
There's a group of air traffic controllers from Newark that have started an online campaign telling people, don't fly into Newark. We can't guarantee your safety. We're getting hacked. Our equipment doesn't work. It's bad. Interesting to me.
Which breeds a thought. How outdated is their equipment?
Probably very older than us, probably.
But also, say it is updated. Where is it coming from?
Yep.
Oh, we're going to roll all the way back down to the tariffs, man.
Yep.
China.
So, again, my background's power construction, right? Like, I know what I know. I can make the electrons flow. Siemens programmable logic controllers, PLCs.
Yep.
80% of them are already compromised.
Yep.
And a PLC is just a little computer that we bolt onto stuff to make it perform a handful of functions, a lot of which is like open and close this circuit.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if they're already compromised and I want this circuit open, now it's closed and I can't open it again. Or I don't want it closed.
And it's locked.
And it's locked. Can't get into it, right?
And now one leg's open.
Right. Yeah. And it's not just the electrical grid. It's also Siemens PLCs are the predominant bit of equipment that's used at all of our major ports as well. So all the big gantry cranes, sorting all those containers and all that's done through Siemens PLCs. And so the concern is, and it's a legitimate concern, is that China has a big red button, boop, they can just turn it off. And for those that don't know, there was a little bit of code that was probably written by the CIA and then through Mossad inserted into the Siemens PLCs for the centrifuges at Iran, whatever. Barry, you always mess up that pronunciation. I don't care. Okay? I'm a white dude from Oklahoma.
We're American. We speak American.
I mess up lots of pronunciations. I'm going to continue. Iran. Okay, so at Iran's clandestine nuclear facility, they had these centrifuges where they're trying to concentrate uranium from 60% for grid power, nuclear energy for grid power, to 90% concentration for weapons grade uranium. So they spin the thing, right? Well, these were all run by PLCs, Siemens PLCs. And so this little bit of code called Stuxnet and there's supposed to be an air-gapped system. So the janitor had a thumb drive and was in there cleaning and poked this thumb drive into their computers. This little line of code gets into the PLCs, and over the course of 2 years, it increased or decreased automatically, mathematically, the speed of the centrifuge by 1% in order to cause the bearings to wear out on the centrifuge so that it would break. Diabolical. But then here's the problem. The Iranians go back, they do an analysis on the computer systems, go, what's this bit of code? Take it off of the air-gapped system, hook it into their networked computers to analyze the code, and that was Stuxnet's indicator, go. And it self-replicated across the entire world, and it's just a known thing now. It's just out there. Right.
What?
Right. So, again, if you don't have a plan for when the grid goes away, not if, but when the grid goes away, I would strongly encourage you, maybe don't be in downtown Chicago when the lights go out and stay out.
That's not even just talking about the electrical grid, because, I mean, how many dams are supporting,
100%
electrical flow or power generation, right? And all they have to do is either, these doors are all the way open. Now everything on the other side of that is flooded.
I've said 100 times, and I'll say it again. I want the dumbest grid possible. I want dumb infrastructure that Billy's got to hop out in a truck and drive to where we think the problem is and look at it. And that comes back to giving robots human jobs and blah, blah, blah. And it just, and all this has been done to eke out more profit on the margins. All of it has been done, right? If we use computers and robots to monitor signals along this mechanism that is the grid or the dam or the port of entry for all these ships, then we don't need people to do it, and they'll do it with a greater rate of accuracy than people will do it. Okay, sure. I'm pro people. I want people to have jobs. Here at Refuge, there's lots of things that could be automated and we could have AI do inside of this building. We don't, because I want people. When you get one of these and you get a Bearfac and you take it out of the box, you're like, I can feel the energy and the love that people put into this, right? It didn't. The manufacturing process wasn't like 93 robots on a manufacturing line and then one person that slaps a label on it. It's not that. It's made by people. So I'm very pro people. And if it is a little bit slower and a little bit less efficient to use a person, but I don't have, yes, people can be hacked, but that's a different thing. And I don't mean necessarily biologically, chemically, things that have been shot into people's blood over the last 5 years, but You can sway people's opinion, you know, agent, double agent, blah, blah, blah. My point is, I'm pro people because if we have mechanical systems that people can operate, when the electrical systems no longer work or don't work even for a period of time, we still have mechanical systems, analog systems that can be used for the preservation of life, right? When the air traffic controllers' computers go down, they can still get on a ham radio and talk, or, you know, it's not technically a ham radio, aviation radio. I know all the sad hams out there just lost their whatever, okay? They hit an aviation frequency on an analog radio, key the mic and say, full ground stop, do not land, we're rebooting our systems. And so without having mechanical backups, analog backups behind the digital systems, people can and will die.
Yeah.
But we don't have those analog backups to our most critical systems anymore. You know, things like energy, like shipping, freight. Dams is a great point, right? There should be a giant iron wheel that we have to turn to raise and lower the dam, you know? Should look like a drawbridge in a castle.
Yeah, dude.
You know? And we've gotten so, we've kept trying to eke out more profit on the margins that we keep pulling analog systems and people out of critical infrastructure and replacing that with electrical digital systems. And it's gonna bite us in the ass one day. It's just a matter of time. My 2 cents, my
Agreed.
opinion. All right, you guys got anything else you wanna add? How long we been going, Dud?
124.
Oh my gosh. I try to keep these shows to an hour. You gotta tell me next time.
It's just flowing. People are loving it.
Well, okay, so when we hit 50 minutes next time, let me know.
Okay.
Go like this. 5-0. Okay.
So tariffs, right? They've kind of worked a deal out right now for the next 90 days.
Oh yeah, China. I meant to talk about that earlier.
Okay, so since they've kind of got this 90-day workout that starts here in a week or so, or something like that, or a couple days, whatever it is, we still haven't fully felt the effects of when the tariffs went in to today.
Yep.
We are going to be tasting that for a while, because even when they send these ones off, once it kicks in, how long does it take for a ship? Which is the biggest amount of freight that we get, not just planes, but how long does it take a ship?
6 to 12 weeks.
Depends. They can get to the West Coast in 15 to 20 days if the weather is good and they're loaded.
If this stuff's ready to go on the ship.
If it's ready to go.
So full production cycle?
Yes.
Let's say I order something from China right now, I want a container of 6 to 12 weeks.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Which we have 6 to 7 before shelves are empty.
Yeah. And so how long have the tariffs been in? For
a couple, 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. We'll just call it a month.
Yep.
Right? The implications of that little 30-day window, we haven't felt yet. The ports are just now starting to feel it.
Yep.
Because they're down at some ports, down 40%.
Yeah.
On what normal ships. Now, that goes all the way, like, so you got all kinds of businesses, right? So one of the businesses, like, say, most of this, we'll call it a baby's goods, right? Most of their goods come from China, right? Yep. Their shelves are now running out on a small business, right?
Yep.
In order to get their order, it was $240,000 with the tariffs in place for them to get their order to keep their business going, right? I watched a little newsreel on a lady who just signed a contract with like Target and Walmart or something like that to carry her products there, and then the tariffs hit, and her stuff got stuck in limbo.
Yep.
Right, because she couldn't afford to do it. She had took a loan out just to get this deal up and running.
Yep.
So the little stuff, right, is going to start stacking up. Long-term effects, prices are going to go up. Just off of this little 30-day window. There's no way they're not gonna. And then we've got the trucking industry, if you don't speak English.
Yep.
Which meant less drivers, people could bid up higher because if you want it now, we got less people, this is the price, right? And so then who pays? We pay the price at the end of that. So the short term, so the ripple effect, I don't know that you can undo it.
The other thing, from a manufacturing standpoint, a bunch of American manufacturers have been sitting on the sidelines waiting to decide whether or not to invest in infrastructure and people based upon the long-term tariffs. And there's been some that have already invested significant money, 300-400% of what their operating revenue is, right? So they make $10 million in a year, they take out a loan for $30-40 million to expand production capability because their competitors in China now have a 245% tariff on them, now they can compete. But now we have a trade deal between the United States and China. What happens to that guy who just, the borrower is a slave to the lender, by the way. I'm a huge fan of bootstrapping, not loans. But or maybe he had 40 mil in reserve, his own money he pulled out, dumped into the company, because now the margins are where they need to be in order for this guy to compete. And instead of having 245% tariffs on Chinese goods, now we're back to 10%. What does this guy do? Right? He just dumped all this money into American manufacturing, and there's even more entrepreneurs, business owners, investors who are sitting on the sidelines waiting to see how the tariffs shake out.
Right.
Because if we want to restore American manufacturing, it's not going to happen overnight. Pete at Origin is an awesome example of this. They've been doing this for over a decade, and they're just now starting to get traction. Yeah. Right? It takes time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And I can buy, and where does most of the manufacturing stuff come from? Where do the machines come from?
Exactly.
China, India, Germany, maybe, right?
Where's all the transformers come from?
100%, right? So if we want to rebuild American manufacturing, I need these 4 machines for this process to produce this product. Well, where do they come from?
Yeah.
Right. And so now I've got lead time and cost on the machines that you're paying up front. I pay that to the manufacturer first. Then hopefully in 12 weeks to a year, I get the machine that I paid for. It shows up. And in the meanwhile, I've got to invest in training people that I'm getting no return on that investment right now because I don't have the machines to produce the product that the people are going to use.
Right.
So I've got an on-ramp for these people to train them up. So when the machine gets here, then we can make all the mistakes that we're going to make with the machine because we're going to ruin the first half a dozen batches, right? So we have all that learning capital until we finally get to where we have a product, which hopefully at that point, there's people, the customer has enough money in their pocket to be able to afford the product that I've spent the last 18 months ramping up towards in the first place.
Yep.
Right? And so there's major implications from a manufacturing standpoint. If we're supposed to restore American manufacturing,
100%,
and we keep messing with the tariff numbers, it gets everybody cold feet. They don't want to hop into the pool.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
I get it. And so how do we solve that here? We just keep doing what we're doing. That's it. It's just we've been making stuff in America since before it was cool, right? And so we're going to keep making stuff in America. But for everybody else, and it's BS, but life-saving equipment has become highly commoditized. But everything's a commodity now. If you make hoodies,
yep,
like Origin makes hoodies.
Yep.
I've heard people say I get it, that's awesome, it's made in America, but I don't have $100 for a hoodie. And I totally understand that.
Yep.
But do you have I got $20 for a hoodie, not 100. Okay, so if you buy one $100 hoodie and it lasts you forever, that's less expensive than buying a $20 hoodie every year. But the problem is, even if you can do that mental calculus, I don't have $100 for a hoodie.
Yeah.
All I have is $20 because beef prices are up. Energy prices are up.
Yep.
And car prices are up. Home prices are up. Everything's up, which is the debasement of the U.S. dollar's value.
And how do you even compete with, the idea of commoditized, you name it, whatever commoditized product, and you're dealing with just putting food on the table.
Yep.
Much less paying the electric bill.
Yep.
If you want to keep an eye on inflation and what the economy is going to do, watch the lumber prices.
Yep.
Lumber prices is the #1 indicator that's going to tell you first it's going to hit that, and everything will ripple off of that. Guarantee it.
Yep.
When I used to cut timber, upstate New York. So, housing market, right? Housing values, which drive in part stock market and,
Yep.
and everything else,
Yep.
right? I could tell I had a 7-month lead time on when the stock market would go up, because I'd see softwood prices at the mill jump, because softwood is all your dimensional lumber, 2x4s,
Yep.
2x6s, right? All that stuff. That's what we used to frame the house with. And then I would literally mark that on a calendar that day. And 6 months later, hardwood prices would spike, because that's your stair treads, your hardwood flooring, your crown molding, cabinetry, all of that is all hardwood, right? And so I dealt primarily in hardwood. I don't want to cut, even if you pay me to cut softwood, I don't want to cut it, because I get twice as much for a trailer load of beech pallet stock, pallet wood, as I do for softwood. So why would I cut softwood? There's no point.
Yeah.
Right? But I cut hardwood. Cool. If I know when softwood peaks, I know when hardwood's going to peak. And so I would get to where I would hold as a commodity in my yard. I had 27 acres, half of it was filled with logs.
Yeah.
I would hold, that's my pile of red oak and white oak and black oak and ash and maple and hard maple, curly maple. Ooh, that's a good price, right? Cherry, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cherry wood,
Yeah, buddy.
walnut.
Yes, sir.
And so, and I'd sit on it, right? And red oak was like, we got to pay some bills, take a load of red oak, because it was pretty stable. But the more exotic the wood, the more it would spike in 6 months. So if I could sit on a load of hard maple, sit on a load of walnut, sit on a load of cherry,
Yep.
and then wait for it to kick up,
Yep.
take those cherry logs now, they're worth 40% more than they were
Yep.
when we cut them. So, but that's a commodity game, you know. But you're absolutely right. Watch the lumber prices. That's the show for today. Thank you, guys. I thought it was a really good conversation.
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
As always, interested in your comments on this. This will post as a video after the live stream. It'll actually be under the live stream tab, because YouTube's in charge of that, not me. But your comments after the fact really help us determine what the shape of the show is going to look like. If you have intel you'd like to provide to be read on Friday's show for the whole Bear Nation, intel@bearindependent.com, intel@bearindependent.com. Like I said, Refuge has a BOGO, buy one, get one 30% off right now. Very rare. Lots of training opportunities, including Zero to Hero radio course with Evan being done here, which is going to be amazing.
Heck yeah.
A couple of slots left for Train the Trainer. We have the virtual remote responder, which is a 4-hour block of instruction done via private live stream like this. That is May 30th of this month. It's free with orders over $299, or you can buy it a la carte for $99 at refugemedical.com under the training tab. And if you can't do any of that, at least go to the training tab and watch the trauma medicine playlist. It's free. It's all there right now.
Excellent content.
Excellent content. Thank you. Grindstone is raising funds for a restroom trailer, a place to poo and pee and take a shower when we're deployed doing disaster relief stuff.
Gosh.
And
they're incredible.
yeah.
Just,
Well, and to rent them when we're on deployment to make sure everybody can, wash all the poison oak and stuff off you at night.
they are expensive.
Extremely expensive to rent.
Yep.
So this will cut costs long game where
Yep.
we can really be kind of a little more
100%.
sustainable on what we're
100%.
able to pour more into the community in the long term.
Yep.
But what it does for each of us on a psychological perspective, being able
yes.
to
Yes.
wind down after a hard day of work.
Yep. We can end with that. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in pouring into, if the Spirit convicts you, you want to support our good works after hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, floods, grindstoneministries.com. We're good on volunteers right now, so if you've submitted an application to be a volunteer, just please be patient. For everybody else, we'll raise that flag again the next time we have a need. Caleb House, volunteers at calebhouse.org, Caleb with a K, if you'd like to pour into our counter-trafficking ministry. There's lots of people that do counter-trafficking, very few of them that do in the United States of America. And then those that are in the United States of America, even fewer of those are actually doing anything. Most of the time it's just fundraising. We are 100% privately supported by y'all. We don't take a dime from the federal government, state government, local government. We don't take a dime from any of these giant faith organizations either, mostly because I don't want anybody else telling us what we can or can't do when it comes to the rescue and restoration of children. And we are actively involved in that while also building a restoration facility. And so if that's something you want to pour into, if the Spirit convicts you, go to calebhouse.org, Caleb with a K, calebhouse.org. And we are open. You can submit an application, submit a resume for administrative positions within calebhouse.org, Caleb with a K. Understand, there is a significant background check process. The most dangerous threat is an insider threat. We've caught 4 pedophiles of people who wanted to come volunteer for us. That's retarded. Why would you do that?
Yep.
But it's because they seek access and placement with troubled youth. Yeah. Okay? So that's, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. There's a significant background check process to be a part of the team at calebhouse.org. But if you are convicted to do so, we do have some administrative positions opening up, so feel free to reach out. And with all these things, if the Spirit convicts, and only if the Spirit convicts, you can give at grindstoneministries.com, calebhouse.org. Links are in all the description. Shout out to the patrons. You guys are the economic engine of the Bear Nation. You are what put shoes on my kids' feet and make sure that we can buy hay bales for the cows, because that's, frankly, my only source of revenue. It's 30 cents a day. Patreon is where all the exclusive content lives, and it's the good stuff, the really good stuff. So if you're interested, give it a try, or you could sign up for the year. You get 2 months free if you sign up for the year. Link is in the description. Yeah. We should pray.
Yeah.
We should pray.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Send it.
You want me to send it? I'll send it. All right. Oh, good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for awesome brothers and friends and for allowing us to wake up on this side of the dirt today. Father, thank you for all the things that we take for granted. Thank you for putting us on this earth at this time for your will and for your purposes. And I would pray that everybody that is unsure of what your will is in their life, that you would reveal that to them by your Spirit. And those of us that know are certain of the path that you've put us on, that you'd continue to pour into us and give us encouragement. And Father, that your Spirit would be manifested in us for good works and for love and for reproof and instruction, and that you'd continue to walk with us as we do our best to be your hands and feet and shine your light out into a world that doesn't know you or doesn't know you as well as they could. Father Yah, let no weapon formed against us prosper. Put a hedge around all these people, and if there's anything within the sound of my voice that's not of you, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to flee. Father, please continue to give us our daily bread. Let us learn to know you and trust you better, that you are a good Father and that we will never go without. We've got everything we need and most of what we want. We really, truly are blessed that you are sovereign over all things. Whatever it is that troubles us, it troubles you first, and that you rejoice at the opportunity to go to battle for your children. So, Father, just let us be wholly dependent upon you today. Please continue to teach us how to love people to the best of our ability, to see people the way that you see them. Father, to be your light. Thank you for all of these things, and thank you for the redeeming blood of Yeshua, that we would have a way to come home again. Please continue to tarry with us as we do our best human broken ability to walk in your ways. Father, forgive us of our sins and just continue to pour out on us. We love you and we praise you. In Yeshua's name, amen.
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 Thank you, Dudley, behind the camera.
Great job.
Great job, Dud. You're killing it. Thank you to everybody in the Bear Nation. BearIndependent.com for all the things, links in the description. But most of all, be the light, man. Go out there in the world and just make a positive difference in the world. And don't let the world get you off of your game. Just do the things. Be the light. Make the Father smile to the best of your ability. And understand there's nothing that outranks that. Nothing. So what are we so worried about? I love y'all. See you when I see you. Shalom.
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 Hey everyone, Kyle with Grindstone. Hey, just wanted to film a quick update. We are out and about in the Burnsville, North Carolina area helping clean up a elderly woman's home that was washed down the side of the hill during Helene that just got overlooked in the Burnsville area. Just nobody's been able to get to it yet because there's been so much. The team's over there helping clean up. We sent some equipment over there, and some of our local volunteers are out helping clean that up. And we'll splice in some pictures. You can see what happened over there. Other than that, been working on some warehouse stuff at the warehouse. Jason's doing a great job getting all that straightened up, squared away. Cindy's been working on some fundraising projects I have her on, and I've just been working on policies and procedures, some stuff we need to get on paper to help the insurance companies out and kind of understand a little bit more of what we do. Other than that, Dudley's being Dudley, and that's about it from here. We got some good stuff coming up we're going to work on over the summer. Looks like we have a risk of storms coming in this week that we'll be watching towards the latter part of the week. And just can't say thank you enough to everybody. Look forward to being able to show off some of the new stuff that we have going on. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us through the website or through admin@grindstoneministries.com. We are going to be pausing our volunteer intake for the time being until we deploy again, just to give some of our folks in the background a break from running the background checks and doing stuff like that. So if you need anything, reach out, admin@grindstoneministries.com. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a blessed day. Shalom.